Thank you. Sorry, I'm so busy watching all the names come up in the chat at the side. It's just so exciting for me to see everybody coming back for the third day. It really means so much to us. So welcome to day 3, the last of the DEMHIST Open Talks 2024, Historic House Museums and Their Communities. For those of us who are not with us up until now, you've missed a lot, but we are happy to have you join us on this last day. Please put your name and affiliation in the chats for the record, your mic on mute unless you are talking, and try to keep your camera on. If you have any questions about the video platform, please send a private message to Caroline or Cecilia or Nicoletta. The word of the day is impact. How do we as heritage sites and house museums make a significant impact on communities? The presentations today will highlight how historic house museums can influence societal transformation within their communities. They will underscore the importance of innovation, empowerment, and sustainability in heritage sites, demonstrating their potential to address contemporary social challenges and foster community engagement. It promises to be a very informative and impactful day. Following the format of previous days, after the presentations and virtual tours, we will have time for play. We will revisit our word cloud from the first day, and we will also discuss the quiz that we sent out to everybody. If you have not yet done the quiz, please look for it in the chat. I think that Caroline can put it in the chat now, and she will also do that a little bit later. We will then have our final closing session, after which we all deserve a celebratory drink, and whatever is appropriate for whatever time of the day it is for you, whether it be coffee, mimosa, whiskey, wine, beer, go for it. Cup of tea is also okay. And now I will ask Milja to present the first paper session.
Dear participants, welcome to the third and last day of our open talks. The word of today is impact, as Timna said. And today's session makes significant impacts on communities, emphasize the transformative potential of historic house museums within their communities. Focusing on impact, it highlights how these museums can drive societal change through innovation, empowerment, and sustainability. The team explores their role in addressing contemporary social challenges and fostering meaningful community engagement, showcasing their ability to inspire progress and inclusivity. It is my pleasure to introduce video from Elena Montanari from Politecnico di Milano. Her talk is centered around the Open Atelier project, an innovative initiative aiming to co-design, implement, and evaluate new formats for engaging contemporary communities in reinterpretation and enhancement of cultural heritage within European house museums. The project includes collaboration with cultural institutions such as Art Museums of Skagen from Denmark, Plečnik House Slovenia, Einar Jónsson Museum Iceland, Milles Garden Sweden. It also involves partnership with Aalborg University and sorry, Gianluca, Amat Associazione Marchigiana Attività Teatrali, among others. Elena's video will provide insights into the experimental actions carried out across various European sites, including digital competition and on-site participatory experience, aiming to reshape how audiences interact with cultural heritage. Please enjoy.
Good morning. My name is Elena Montanari. I am a researcher in interior architecture and exhibition design at the Department of Architecture and Urban Studies of Politecnico di Milano, and today I have the honor to introduce you to the work that is being developed within the project Open Atelier, that was started in October 2022 and will be concluded in September 2025 through the support of the Creative Europe program of the European Commission. Open Atelier is a cross-sectoral network of 4 European house museums coordinated by Art Museums of Skagen. Art Museums of Skane is the common denominator that clusters the Skane Art Museum, together with Ankershus and Dragsmanshus, that are two of the homes of the artists that formed the colony that between the 19th and the 20th century settled in Skane, on the northern tip of Denmark, and where their work and heritage is now being conserved and enhanced by this institution. The other partners of the Open Atelier Network include the Einar Jansson Museum, the former house and studio of sculptor Einar Jansson, who was also the designer of the building in Reykjavik, where most of his works are now preserved, researched and exhibited. Milja's Garden, that is an art museum complemented by an evocative sculpture garden based in Lidingö, a hill overlooking the city of Stockholm, that is meant to conserve, display and promote the home and the work of artists Carl and Olga Milles. And finally, Plečnik House, that was born out of the conversion of the home and atelier of the famous Slovenian architect into a public museum in 1974, and today continues to document and to enhance its legacy as part of the Museum and Galleries of Ljubljana. Within the Open Atelier Network, these four museums are working together with one creative performance organization, AMAT, Associazione Marchigiana Attività Teatrali, and two universities, among which Politecnico di Milano, with an overall goal, which is to enhance the capacity of museum professionals in relation to audience engagement. This task is being carried out through the development of 9+1 experimental actions, which we refer to as Open Atelier experiences. These actions are designed, implemented and evaluated by the four Open Atelier museums through the engagement of specific target groups and the collaboration of other partners and experts. The aim of these experiences is to test innovative formats for the involvement of contemporary communities in the way cultural heritage is reinterpreted, used and enhanced within the present scenarios. At the moment, all the museums involved have already carried out one experience each, and during the next year they will implement a second one. The setting of the framework of these experimental actions started with a test experience that was carried out by the leader, Art Museums of Skane, in close collaboration with AMAT and a group of Italian artists who developed a co-creative reinterpretation of a selection of historical photos from the museum documenting the history of the artist's colony. Through the unfolding of new interplays among different characters, stories and contexts, this process led to the resignification of this photographic heritage, and it generated new multi-layered storylines that were conveyed to the public in the form of a theatre performance displayed in Pesaro in February 2023. After 1 year, this same photographic heritage was the object of another experimental action carried out at the Art Museums of Skane. This experience drew on the co-creative collaboration among the museum curators, a cross-sectoral group of artists and a team of young adults that led to the transformation of the historical images into interactive tools, enabling the elaboration of new layers of meaning and making this heritage more eloquent, resonant and meaningful to contemporary audiences. The strategies designed by the working group were tested during an event organized in June 2024 in the garden of the museum, where the local community was actively engaged in a series of micro-experiences designed to test innovative types of exploration of this heritage. The first experience carried out at the Einar Jansson Museum was designed around the celebration for the 100th anniversary of the institution in June 2023. This action was meant to experiment with the possibility to turn a milestone or a significant event into a moment of critical reflection, fueled by the participation of artists and especially of the local community. The public event at the Einar Jansson Museum was transformed into an occasion to test several audience-centered activities aimed at elaborating and sharing new perspectives on the history and on the heritage of the institution, including a co-creative dancing timeline, a participatory picnic, and a collaborative workshop based on the manipulation of a group of postcards from the museum's past to develop new visions for its future. The first experience carried out at Milja's Garden focused on the contributory collection of personal memories documenting the connection that different people have established with the artist and the museum along the last decades. Through the collaboration of a group of students from a nearby school, the curators designed a range of collection modalities and a communication campaign aimed at soliciting the sharing of personal stories that have contributed to unfold new and multivocal perspectives on Milja's heritage and that are going to be integrated in the museum's spaces and narratives. The first experience carried out at the Plečnik's house experimented with the format of the hackathon to collect different perspectives about the efficiency of their permanent exhibition system and to develop new insights on its possible enhancement. Through the collaboration of an interdisciplinary team, the curators engaged with a group of 23 young creatives from the Ljubljana area to unfold a contemporary interpretation of Plečnik's heritage and to propose a revision of one of the rooms at the entrance of the museum. Finally, the project also involved an experimentation of which Politecnico di Milano was in charge. That was specifically meant to test innovative ways to exploit digital engagement to facilitate new interactions among young creatives and European cultural institutions. We carried out this task by experimenting with the format of the digital competition. In February 2024, we launched an international call designed to solicit innovative and multimedia reinterpretations of the Open Atelier Museum's heritage in the light of their possible contribution to the achievement of the social, economic, or environmental tasks blueprinted by the Sustainable Development Goals at the core of the United Nations 2030 Agenda. And by June, we had received around 100 valuable proposals conveyed through a visual statement and a claim, a selection of which is displayed in the dedicated Instagram account. On the one hand, these entries have contributed to explore the potential of cultural institutions in fostering positive changes and in constructing a sustainable, prosperous and peaceful future. And on the other, they have proven the efficiency of digital engagement in stimulating the commitment of young creative talents in the development of new interpretations and uses of cultural heritage. Now, all the partners are still working on their second experience, which will be concluded by the summer of 2025. And this will allow us to wrap up and to disseminate all the results of the projects. Hence, we need to wait 1 year. But the experimental actions we have been developing so far have already produced some interesting food for thoughts that we can already start to share about contemporary museums' learning trajectories in terms of audience engagement. First of all, we may report that interaction is substance-driven and it is not defined by the institution's holdings, meaning that also small museums can develop very efficient interactions. We may also add that a key to successful interaction is communication, and this communication may also be of a very basic kind and not necessarily based on technologies and their application. We will for sure highlight how the context around the museum is often full of untapped resources. Indeed, a fundamental step in the work of Open Atelier museums was a mapping of all the cultural institutions and schools and groups and associations and events that are active in different fields in the surroundings. And this mapping led to the activation of really fruitful and sometimes very unexpected collaborations. Of course, we may say that the formation of communities around a common project is a key driver of the interactive process, and for example, several among the Open Atelier experiences proved how open to engagement even young adults can be when you give them a task, when you give them a place inside of the museum where they can see their voice heard and their vision taking shape. And finally, I would conclude by highlighting how strategic can be house museums in the development of audience engagement practices, because these often draw on an intellectual or emotional engagement with people's personal stories and memories, which represent a fundamental content of house museums and allow them to become a particularly fertile laboratory for the construction of mutual connections and exchanges. So now I thank everybody for the attention and invite you to follow the ongoing development of the Open Atelier project through our digital platforms.
And we thank Elena Montanari. Sadly, she's not today with us, so no questions for her, but maybe we can forward the question if you want. So type the questions if you have for her in chat, please, and we will try to forward the questions and comments, of course. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Sara Chafi, a dedicated PhD student at the University of Salah Boubnider, Constantine, Algiers. Sara's research centers on cultural heritage and its impact on social transformation, making her a passionate advocate for preserving the rich history of Algeria. Today, she will be presenting on empowering communities, preserving heritage, the Ahmed Bey Museum's dynamic role in social change and cultural conservation. In this engaging presentation, Sara will guide us through the story of Ahmed Bey, the last Ottoman governor of Constantine, and the evolution of his palace into a symbol of Algeria's cultural identity. She will explore the museum's role in preserving historical artifacts, promoting traditional craftsmanship, and fostering community engagement through education and celebration. Please join me in welcoming Sara Chafi to share her insights on how heritage can impact societal growth and pride. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, community members, good afternoon. Today, I'm honored to speak about the vital role that historic house museums, particularly the Ahmed Bey Museum, play in fostering social change and preserving our cultural heritage. As we gather for this open talk, let us explore how such institutions can empower communities. Ahmed Bey Palace, an emblematic monument located in the heart of the Medina of Constantine in Algeria, originally built as the residence of Ahmed Bey, the last Ottoman governor of Constantine in the Regency of Algiers. He was a Kulugli, which means his father from Turkish origin and Algerian mother. The monument was occupied for many functions. In 1837, occupied by French army as the command center. In 2010, reconverted to the National Museum of Art and Cultural Traditional Expression of Constantine City. The Ahmed Bey Palace is an architectural masterpiece and a significant symbol of the city's rich historical and cultural identity. The palace exemplifies the grandeur of Ottoman architecture while incorporating local and more rich influences. The palace spans an area of 5,600 square meters, making it the largest palace in Algeria. The palace is designed in an introverted light, following a central plan organized around courtyard and garden. We have orange garden, where Napoleon implanted a cedar, and we have a palm garden. Its structure consists of 4 main wings. The palace decor is exceptionally rich. The walls are adorned with 4,600 pieces of zellige, forming intricate geometric and floral patterns of great finesse. Columns made of white marble are topped with finely sculpted capital, where the doors and windows, crafted from carved wood, added elegance and authenticity while reflecting traditional wood working technique. The mural fresco, another remarkable feature, significant scene from the life of Ahmed Bey, notably his pilgrimage. The Ahmed Bey Palace play a vital role to preserve heritage. First, by cultural conservation of tangible and intangible heritage efforts. The conversion of Ahmed Bey Palace into museum provide a public access. The museum serves as a repository of Constantine history and tradition, offering curated exhibition. Such initiatives ensure the continuity of tangible and intangible heritage like craft and oral histories. Secondly, empowering local artisans. By promoting sustainable livelihoods, the museums partner with local weavers, embroideries, textile artists, and ceramic to showcase and sell their handcrafted products, supporting sustainable livelihoods and preserving traditional craftsmanship. Museums serves as a dynamic venue for dialogue and social engagement. First, by educational programs. Through its educational programs and outreach initiative, the museums of Ahmed Bey actively engage with the local community, empowering them to become stewards for their cultural heritage. Secondly, by hosting events that celebrate local tradition and festival help strengthen community bonds. This gathering not only attract visitors but also encourage participation from residents, fostering a vibrant cultural landscape. Third, by youth empowerment. The museum involves young people to train as cultural ambassadors to guide tours and share the museum's history with visitors. As conclusion, the Ahmed Bey Museum illustrates how historic house museums can be dynamic agents for social transformation and cultural preservation. By empowering communities and fostering cultural pride, it sets a benchmark for how heritage can be leveraged to inspire and sustain societal growth. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sara Chafi. Are you with us? Are you ready for questions?
Yes, I'm with you.
Thank you. Thank you once again for your lovely presentation. I don't see any questions from the chat, but I have two. Could you maybe share examples of partnership with the local community that have been particularly successful?
With local community, there was a project with the handcraft for, je sais pas comment dire, le cuivre, pour le cuivre. Okay. There were study motifs and encourage their product.
I'm having trouble hearing the answer.
Sara, are you still there, Sara?
Is she there? Can we see her? She's
yes,
there.
Yes, I hear you. Yes. Did you hear my answers?
No.
No.
Can you repeat, please?
Okay, you said the project with the local community as a valorization of the traditional habits that we call Gandura with velours, where they encourage artisans and local habitants to donate their traditional habits and expose them.
Okay, thank you. We have a comment from Gianluca, who was lucky enough to visit the palace last year, and he said it was wonderful, but it has no furniture, so it's difficult to understand how was the life inside. Would you like to comment on that comment,
Yes,
Sara?
yes. There is furniture. There is furniture where are conserved in the reserve. We have just problem with hygrothermic comforts. There is why they are not exposed.
Okay, got it. And
Okay.
if there are no questions, I have one more. How can lessons from the Ahmed Bey Museum approach to community engagement and heritage preservation be applied maybe to other historic house museums worldwide?
You want other perspective? This is the questions, if I understand it, or...
Yeah, this is a question from me to you, yeah.
Yes. Maybe I will answer you after.
If you like, you can think, and we can use maybe after the video tour's time to answer, but thank you. So now we are transferring to Slovenia, and I have really big pleasure to introduce Verena Perko from the University of Ljubljana, and she will deliver a presentation titled How to Present the Tragic Fates of Great Personalities to the Public, focusing on the museum house of the poet Franz Prešern in Kranj, Slovenia. And presentation explored the challenges of ethical representing the life and legacy of historical figures, specifically those whose lives were marked by both remarkable achievements and significant personal struggles. And I have a personal comment that we all study and that we all grew on the same idea of heritology from the great one, Tomislav Šola. So that's Verena, with my heart fully filled with Šola's thoughts, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just have a question how to move the presentation because there is no plan.
If you wish, I can switch the slides for you. Just tell me when.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. A little bit, yeah. Dear colleagues, my contribution is a reflection on how to approach museum presentations of important people without keeping silent their tragic fates or even treating them unethically. The first one. Yeah, can you move? Yeah, thank you. I'm referring to the Franz Prešern Museum House in Kranj, the house where the great Slovenian poet spent last years of his mostly miserable life. The museum is visited by thousands of school children, but many jokes circulate in the town about the poet's scandalous life. Next one. On the February at the 8th, the day of Prešeren's Dacian anniversary, Slovenia celebrates its national cultural holiday. Krain is crowded with visitors and many cultural events are organized. The highest award of cultural achievement in Slovenia is presented. Everyone who is really important is there. But let's visit the house. Please, next one. A room with modest furnishing from the 19th century. Next one. And his law office, the room where he created the poem Zdravljica. Next one. Toast as a vision of political freedom for the Slovenians, who at the time were incorporated into the Habsburg monarchy. In 1919, the seventh stanza of poem became the lyrics of the national anthem of the Republic of Slovenia. Next one. So we can say that Franz Prešeren created the finest work of literary art. His poetry has been translated into the world's major languages. He established the high literary Slovenian language, and we can compare him with Mickiewicz or Ševčenko or even Pushkin, for Slovenians, of course. Next one. The magnificent statue in the center of the town Krain clearly expresses Franz Prešeren is the giant of Slovenian language, a symbol of national identity. In a way, his public image obliges us to speak only good about him, or as the ancient Latin said, nil nisi bene. Next one. But entering the room where he died abandoned and sick, we must ask ourselves, what is more important, the image or the truth? Next one. The exhibition is presenting all greatness of the artist, like his profession, most important poet and poetry, founder of Slovenian language, founder of national consciousness, a symbol of Slovenian identity, etc. But what about misery of his life? His female companions were underage girls. His 3 abandoned children born outside marriage. Can you imagine what a miserable life was that? His death at only 49 from alcoholic exhaustion. It remains everything on the right side barely mentioned on the exhibition. Can you? The change, yeah. But isn't alcoholism, promiscuity, and child neglect something that affects all of us? Or isn't it something that we should talk about? But how to talk about our heroes? This is really a question. To praise their virtues and keep silent about their faults. This is exactly what happens when we tell a one-sided story, let's say an exclusive meta-narrative. Next one. I was prompted to reflect on the importance of museum ethics by an unusual museum decision to display a replica of underpants in the poet's bedroom. Next one. What kind of message does the object convey to the public? There is no clear answer anyway. But the exhibition seems voyeuristic, allude to the poet's scandalous life, evokes mockery. Anyway, next one. What obliges us to talk about the dark sides of our heroes? The answer is in the nature of the modern museum, which is defined by its social role. Critical interrogation, tackling of stereotypes, opening up a painful issue. These are our tasks. And we need to find a way to open up these questions and how to communicate ethical messages in a museological way. The goal is to improve the quality of life of the individuals and of the community. Next one. However, this cannot be done without seeking the truth and striving for a dialogue and a multi-faced view. I took as a starting point, next one. Excuse me, I was too fast, yeah. I took as a starting point a relationship to the other as the core of museum ethics. Relationship to the other, if limited to rational perception, leads to objectification of represented persons and doesn't affect the public on a personal level. People meet indirectly and experience of each other in the objectificated way. They are indifferent to each other. Next one. So I turn to the Jewish French philosopher Emmanuel Levinas, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. He grounded an ethical attitude on the face of the other. Face of the other as a path to personal reflection and catharsis. It allows us to recognize our own human nature and our own mistakes and our own misery. The ethical relationship to the other liberates me. Next one. But there is still a question. How to talk then about important people in a museum? There are at least three ways. The first one, to conceal the truth, which is known to all. The truth is anyway known to all. They are talking about, and which makes visitors undermine the achievements of what is presented. The second one, to mention it in an intentionally veiled way, just a little bit. But it is also leading to ridicule and devaluation of the core values. Both of these require serious consideration. Most important is the third way, to speak openly, compassionately, and respectfully, and of course, an inclusive way. Because we are obliged to the other by an a priori duty, and this is provoking a reflexive introspection of the self. The next one. Yes, our professor Tomislav Šola. Croatian museologist Tomislav Šola argues that museums have an obligation to represent the true. The reasons for this are: the critical spirit is the only source of creativity. The museum mission is in the concept of the philosophy of the human relationship to the totality of heritage, and by implication to the world and to the human. Next one, and I'm concluding. So, my dear colleagues, Don't let the underpants discourage us from speaking the truth. Thank you.
Bravo, Verena. Thank you so much. We have comments. Thank you, Verena. The topic is very serious from Yulia Trofimova. Denis and Timna have a question for you. Matjaž, congrats, Verena. Very interesting and very important topic. I will pass the mic to Denis after Timna, and I have a question for you because of Shola, of course. Denis, please ask.
Hello everybody, and hello Verena. So lovely to see you here, and I was so much looking forward to your talk. Yesterday I was very disappointed, but I'm glad it's happening. This is such an important topic, as everybody else discussed here, and we're talking really about difficult heritage, how to interpret that, and there is a lot that's been written about it, as probably we're all aware. But when it comes to practice, it's still so difficult to make a presentation that's both sensitive and truthful, accurate, that conveys fully the fact. In your personal experience so far, did you find a formula that works, and could you expand a little bit on it? Obviously on just few points to give us an idea of how it could be done today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, even for me was really, I was a little bit nervous yesterday, of course, and I'm happy that you give me the chance to represent. I mean, it's from the whole beginning, I think it's really important to take decision in museum, to work together with the public, not to avoid the really important questions, which are not the part, usually not a part of meta-narrative, because these are really our most important heroes, let's say. Can you imagine, even about our past, about our Second World War or something like that? There is a lot of little truth. And you have in a museum, you are obliged to talk about. And it's really difficult, and that's a thing that you can combine. It's possible to combine the main story with little stories, like I would include in this exhibition, the stories about these young girls, or probably also about children, because they were neglected, they were really unhappy, they were really miserable. We are usually only talking how unhappy was he, but he was, an alcoholic. He was genius, absolutely genius, but there is no way not to talk about, because these are problems even of today's society.
Oh, exactly. Because of it, it's more relevant than ever. And people should understand, for example, that alcoholism is an illness. It can be treated. Yeah. It's nothing to be ashamed of. So there are so many ways you could make this into an educational and social component of the community. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Denise, for your question. I just want to check with Caroline. How much time do I have for questions before the break?
Well, if we
7 minutes.
If we stick to the normal time, you have 2 minutes, but let's make it a little longer, and let's keep it 5 minutes and 5 minutes, and then the break.
Timna, is that okay with you?
Yes, it's fine. There are lots of very interesting questions coming up in the chat. So I just want to quickly, in fact, I won't ask a question, but I just want to give a little anecdote to say that this issue of how do you deal with the delicate parts of someone's history is something I've been dealing with as well. The house where I'm the curator, the Ticho house in Jerusalem, is named after and dedicated to Dr. Avram Ticho, who was an ophthalmologist, and his wife, Anna Ticho, who was an artist. And then people ask me, but what was Anna's name before they got married? And then I have to go, Anna Ticho. They were first cousins. And which is also an issue, although it was much more accepted and possible in earlier times than it is now. But we're talking about a marriage that happened in 1912. It's still an issue that we have to. I won't bring it up when I'm guiding unless people ask me about it. But if they do ask the question, I will just deal with it head on. And I think one of the questions that you will see in the chat dealing with how do you train your interpreters deals with this. How do you bridge the question? So I'm handing back to you, Milja.
Thank you. And we have a question and comment from Ted Bosley. Very important topic, Verena. Thank you for your courage in approaching it. How these dissonant characteristics are presented with compassion is at least as important as the fact that they are. What kind of training is given to interpreters? Dominic, this is a strong and important presentation. Yesterday, during the presentation on the House of Benjury, I was wondering if more conscious aspects of his personality were addressed in the museum, like allegedly having ordered the murder of Jacob Israel Dehan.
That I can say, no, it's not.
Thank you, Timna. Ximena, Verena, I apologize. I did not entirely get what was the issue in particular with underpants. Can you please explain it again? Why it was chosen to exhibit the underpants of someone who was a poet? Many thanks.
Yeah, this is also my problem. I don't understand at all. You know, it is it is given there just to be, because, you know, I don't know for your country, but in my country, we are talking about how museum have to be a pleasant place, how to be a place of whatever, you know, and they just put it there, and even to me, it's not clear, because you have to think, you know, it's how to explain. I think it's really important that working in a museum, you have to understand the theory, because Professor Tomislav Schola was always telling us the truth is on the first place. And today,
yes,
the postmodern era, it's not really coming to good with the truth, you know. And
yes,
you have
it was always the talk with Schola about ethical approach and how do we find the balance and the ethical imperative to tell the truth about historical figure and historical figure's life, and with the risk of tarnishing their legacy. And I was so enjoying when we received your presentations, and I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you so much. I will just read the comments. I shall use your quote, "Don't let the underpants discourage us from speaking the truth at my museums here in the UK." From Lisa Ikari, we have same difficulties in the Mannerheim Museum as well. Gustav Mannerheim is such a powerful figure in Finland's history that some personal topics are difficult to bring up. This is a very important discussion. This issue seems particularly difficult when dealing with a person who represents status for traditional oppressed people. It's easier when the person comes from dominant culture. Comment by Dominic Chanel. And Matthias is asking us, Caroline, can I have one question more from Matthias? Do we have time?
You have time. We've decided we can go on until 5. Okay, if it's okay with everyone, let's keep discussing until 5.
Thank you so much, Caroline. So Matjaž, take over the mic and ask Verena.
Yes, can you hear me? Thank you, Verena. That was really, really interesting and important subject. I would just like to add a short comment on the issue because I mean we managed the house where Prešeren was born and spent some of youth, and this is the other house that Prešeren lived and died, and we also get a lot of these answers because of course Slovenian people know all of this about his drinking and that, but we found that that it's better not to shy away from these questions from the visitors, but instead to make them like education or even exhibit these good values, especially to the scholars who come to the house. Of course, Prešeren was very, very productive in his poetry and also his work, but you know, sometimes we wonder how much productive if he would have been if he was not had these problems with alcohol. So that's it. Thank you.
Excuse me. May I explain?
Yes, sure.
Usually the genius one, the people, they are very, very genius. They are usually their genius. It's not touched from the alcoholism. This is very, very interesting thing. I was told by my husband, he is a psychologist, and he mentioned that. But like man, like human being, he is totally destroyed. And this is tragical, you know. This is really tragic. And yeah. And even you wouldn't, I was thinking about really, because it's very hard, you know, but then reading Emmanuel Levinas about ethics, about how to approach really to the other and how the other is yourself, then I understood we have to talk about.
Thank you, Matjaž, for question. I will just read after your question comments. So, Gianluca, are we judges mainly of personality which is above us? Ximena says, si gracias. From Yulia Trofimova, I think a lot of museums face the political social pressure these days, unfortunately. And she also states that during the CEMAC ComCall conference this year, that issue, the same issue was mentioned. From Hilary Walker, thank you for this great discussion. I agree that care is needed to balance the historical narratives that we share in our houses. But I think it is equally important to care for the staff, especially the staff interacting with the public. It is also important to develop ways to support our visitors through this discussion. And Denise, you're so right, Gianluca and Julia. Yes, thank you, Verena. Do we have questions or can we go to break? Anyone? Verena, I hope to see you in person in Ljubljana or in Belgrade. Never mind, but we need to follow this Šola road together.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much to not to forget on me. Thank you.
Thanks to Elena as well and to Sara, and thank you all for your patience. And we will have Caroline 5 minutes break, right?
Yes, 5 minutes break, and afterwards we will pick up from there with Roberto. Roberto, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect.
I just want to check my mic. Can you hear me well?
We can hear you very well.
Okay, great. This is the good one then. See you in 5 minutes.
See you in 5 minutes. I'm going to put a timer.
Thank you, dear. Have a little break. See you in 5.
So, hello everybody, come back, put your cameras back on.
Hello, hello.
Everyone's still here?
Hello.
Fantastic. I just want to say that after that, I'm still swallowing my last mouthful of cookie that I had in the break. It's fantastic to see what's going on in the public chat, the discussion that's going on. It's so important.
My thoughts exactly.
And this is why we're here. This is why we are doing what we are doing. So thank you everybody for participating in the chat and keeping the conversation going. Going to now hand over to Roberto and Andreu for the third session of virtual tours. Roberto.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
You're with us.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. Now it's the time to finish our virtual tours with the theme Impact. I am so glad to share this with you. And we have for this part of the conference, we have two special video tours. The first one will be by Alexander Bogatyrev. Are you here, Alexander? Nice to see you, Alexander. And then we have...
Hello from Milano.
Thank you. Welcome to you too. And then we have the surprise from our tech friends from Versailles who have been helping us with this platform. Thank you very much to them. So they're going to close with some videos about Versailles and their communities. So the first video tour will be by Alexander Bogatyrev, the Muranovo Manor Museum Reserve in Russia. And go ahead. What a beautiful place. What a beautiful place, Alexander. Thank you very much for sharing. Before we go into the most expected Versailles videos, also, I just have one question before we go to the question and answers at the end of all the videos. I have to ask this, Alexander. What do you mean by the most honest manner? What it'll mean? Since we received it, it's just a explain in a few words.
If we have four answer about your question, we have a museum and we don't take visitors. We take guests in 19th century in I must speak in Russian, and Mike, my colleague, help me. Мы принимаем гостей.
Я тоже могу помочь.
Миля, спасибо. Галина, спасибо. Мы до сих пор принимаем гостей, а не посетителей музея.
We host guests, not the visitors.
В нашей усадьбе, на территории усадьбы в московском регионе, только у нас в Муранове проживают потомки Тютчева.
Only I will help you. Only in Muranovo estate there are descendants of Tuchev family that live in the house in Muranovo estate.
Thank you, Milja.
Okay. That's very helpful.
And
thank you very much.
All of 20th century, our museum worked without closing for Soviet time.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much. Here in the chat, you have a lot of congrats about the place. It looks beautiful. The scenery is absolutely stunning. I think it's a video that we will be going back and forth because it's a beautiful state to see. We have to move forward to let our friends from Versailles present their videos. Of course, our dear guest and board member, Caroline Gaillard and Nicoletta Slavinsky, are going to present the Palace of Versailles in France, Versailles and its communities, stories of inclusion and connection through art and memory. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Roberto. To join this session on impact, Versailles wanted to invite you to two different tours. One tour through our estate and one tour over time. These two tours will highlight two projects in which Versailles transcends its role as a historic monument to address and impact diverse communities. Our first tour will show you the estate of Versailles through the project Versailles en Mouvement, Dreams in Motion, a project that aims at empowering children and teenagers with disabilities or from underprivileged or social backgrounds, and to help them explore their artistic potential through dance. They have visited the estate and worked with professional choreographers for weeks to create a dance inspired by Versailles and its rich history. Their movements, the movements of their dance, was captured by photographs when they performed in front of their friends and families. These photographs were used in a striking large format photograph exhibition that was shown in Versailles and later is traveling through France, showcasing how art and sport can foster inclusion and expression. So without further ado,
a symbol of French history,
of the
is more
of
than
Versailles
just a palace.
Rêve en Mouvement.
It's 800 hectares encompassing the palace, gardens, park, and the estate of Trianon. Today, Versailles continues to inspire and engage diverse communities through innovative projects that celebrate inclusion, creativity, and personal connection to heritage. A recent project, Dreams in Motion, has brought together individuals with disabilities and those from underprivileged backgrounds. Guided by professional dancers, they've created stunning performances in iconic locations across the estates. From the gardens to the royal apartments, their dances have been captured on film and photography. You can watch these inspiring performances on the Palace of Versailles YouTube channel. These dancers have shown us the power of art and sport to break down barriers and unite people. Their work has showcased in a special exhibition at Versailles and later shared through a traveling exhibition. This incredible project was made possible by the support of MacArthur Glen Group and the Yvelines Department, in partnership with the association Nouvelles du Vivre Ensemble. It's a testament to the power of art and community to transform lives.
So now that we have traveled over space, we're going to travel over time. Nicoletta, if you will.
So the second project, Versailles and You, invites visitors to share family photographs of their connection to Versailles. Spanning generations. Over 1,000 images have been collected so far, along with stories that reveal personal ties to this historic seat. These snapshots ranging from the 20th century to today tell a deeply emotional narrative of how Versailles remains a living part of its visitors' lives, blending heritage with intimate personal history.
Versailles, ce chef-d'œuvre incontesté du goût et de l'art le plus noble et le plus sûr.
Les grilles du palais de Versailles s'ouvrent devant nous. Il fait jour, grand jour, beau jour même.
Époustouflant de beauté. C'est magnifique. J'adore Versailles.
Vous préférez Louis XIV à Louis XV et Louis XV à Louis XVI ou Louis XVI à Louis XV, Louis XV à Louis XIV?
J'aime mieux Louis XIV de tous.
On imagine les gens en costume.
C'est vrai, ça fait rêver ça.
Ouais. De leur court séjour en France, les premiers touristes soviétiques que Paris ait vus depuis 1914 auront tout de même pu emporter quelques souvenirs de choix.
Aujourd'hui, on se goinfre d'images pour fabriquer ses souvenirs. You never leave your camera. Vous ne quittez jamais votre caméra, do you?
Never leave it. Bien sûr que non, il y a trop de choses à voir.
C'est à Louis-Philippe que l'on doit ce musée dédié au peuple français.
En 1830, il décide de sauver Versailles, abandonné depuis la Révolution.
Les visiteurs de Versailles connaissent-ils Trianon?
Trianon, c'est le lieu où se rendait Marie-Antoinette pour occuper ses loisirs.
Les Français, ils veulent montrer l'histoire. Ils veulent que les visiteurs retiennent quelque chose.
C'est à couper le souffle, le château est incroyable. On n'a vraiment rien de tel aux États-Unis.
À l'ouverture, dès que ça a été possible, on a foulé le sol du parc.
C'est vrai, le château de Versailles est au monde entier, mais il est aussi à chacun de nous.
And so if I can just share one last thing. So we collected pictures from our visitors, and with this, we created a Flickr account to share all these pictures, and we created a website, which I'm going to show you here, Photo Souvenir. So pictures from visitors, from people from the palace, but also from tourists, dating back more than 1 century ago. We arranged them through a timeline, but also through themes to make them more easily accessible. And I will just stop there by showing you one last photo to show you that all these pictures show the link of our visitors with the place, and maybe an impact over generations. The people that are on these pictures are actually my grandparents. They used to come to Versailles with their children when they lived around here. They fell in love with Versailles. They gave this passion to their children, and 60 years later, here I am, a professional museum working in Versailles, a palace that my grandmother used to love with all of her heart.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Caroline, for sharing such a nice thing. Thank you very much. I mean, what can we say about Versailles? It's one of the most visited places in the world. And I do have just one little question, because we are talking about communities, and you know, you get people from around the world all the time. We have special programs that might include the community itself in Versailles. I mean, I'm not excluding anybody, but do you plan things for community around you, just to make them more participant of your programs?
You mean local communities? People
yes,
that
local.
live.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
several, actually. We address local communities from different angles. We have programs for people that are very passionate about the palace. So they are friends of the palace and that support us. There are people that are that have a subscription to Versailles, which enabled them to get invited to special events or to do tours that will be only accessible to them. And we also have programs for children, people with disabilities, or people from socially diverse backgrounds from the territory. So we work together with hospitals, with universities to build programs for these publics, and that's what Rêve en Mouvement is about. Because actually, maybe I didn't mention it, but all the children that you could see in the project are children that live very close to Versailles. Am I answering right, or did I not get your question right?
Oh no, perfect. That's exactly what I meant, because we were talking about community, and I just wanted. I'm sure you had a lot of programs. I just wanted you to outspoken them a little bit more, because with a huge place like Versailles, where you are immersed in a world of tourists, how do you keep your community a little closer to you? That was what I meant. And this fabulous program it just seems to be right.
Subscribers, if I can remain on subscribers just a little longer, some of them know more about Versailles than even I do. They are very dedicated to Versailles, and have been with us for decades. And they are the best ambassadors. They are very curious about Versailles, and they always want to collaborate with us and to give their insights, for example, about our posters for exhibitions. So they help us also.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing, Caroline. Before we go to the questions in the chat, does anybody here want to make a comment or say something about these fabulous visits to Versailles and the Murano Manor? Because I do have some questions in the chat. Okay, so we start with the questions in the chat. Jimena Jordan asks, how can we reach the Murano Manor? But since we were showing the Versailles videos, the chat went on and on and on and on. It's fabulous to see this response from people. And actually, Alexander has already answered back to Jimena with the indications of how to reach the Murano Manor. You can see them in the chat. Matthias Conan has an interesting question. He says, wonderful video tour, Alexander. Thank you. Is that a theater stage in the park? Do you also collaborate with local theater groups?
And also Sasha responded in the chat. Roberto, you can see the response.
Okay, I'm seeing the private chat with Nicoleta, which is very helpful to have the questions, but I don't see the answers. I'm sorry. And then we have.
Okay. You can see, Matthias, thank you for your words. Yes, we collaborate with several Moscow and Moscow region theater groups and musicians. We have different stages, not only in the park, but historical too inside the manor.
Thank you, Milja. Then we have a question or a comment for Caroline from Denise Mayer-Baron. Caroline, thank you very much for this. I remember that more than a decade ago, Versailles had donated by a family in Versailles what it became the Malite Richard collection at the archives. The first photos you've shown, I believe, from it. Did Versailles start collecting photographs from locals since in the past decade, or is it a recent project?
The project that I showed you started around 2012, I think. And the video that we made from it was created post-COVID. So it's quite, for me, it's quite recent. From Versailles' point of view, it's quite recent.
Thank you, Caroline. And then we have a beautiful comment about Ted. Ted Bosley. Caroline, may I send you a picture of a 16-year-old Ted Bosley at Versailles? Yes, do share it, please, with all.
Share it.
We all want to see it, Ted.
The whole project was conducted by a researcher, Noémie Couillard, a French researcher. So I can send it to Noémie and see if she can add it to the collection.
Basically, here is an idea, Caroline. If anyone from the group of Open Talk ever been to Versailles, maybe to send you the photos, and we can make poster Open Talks in the Versailles when we were young.
With pleasure. It would be my pleasure.
It would be a lovely collage.
But
I'm seeing in the public.
I actually think that this kind of dynamic can be implemented anywhere and show the importance of initiating children in a very young age to patrimony and creating memories from a very young age with house museums and making house museums places for families, places for any visitors to create memories.
This photograph thing, it's going on, and it's really nice. Dominique Dendoven says, the photograph of my children I carry in my wallet was taken at the Trianon. So I don't see any more questions in the chat. Does anybody have any other comment? Or should we move on and applause to our video tour presentator?
I have one comment, and I think they wouldn't mind because I want to use this opportunity in the name of Cecilia and Timna and to really say a really huge thank you to Caroline and to her friend Nicoletta, and to applaud her for this tremendous work and to say thank you for Versailles for letting us use their platform. So once again, thank you. You are our rock star, as Timna said.
Thank you to you all. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Nicoletta. Thank you, Versailles.
Thank you to an amazing team. I know we're not at the end, but thank you to an amazing team. Milja, Cecilia, Timna, Roberto, thank you everyone. And of course, thank you to all our presenters. And I'm closing my mic now.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break now, I do believe. Caroline, it's 10 minutes?
Sorry, yes, it's 10 minutes.
We're taking a 10-minute break now?
I think we can afford a 10-minute break. I think we can.
Okay, so this is your time to stand up, move away from the screens for a couple of minutes, make a cup of tea, and we will see you back here in 10 minutes for the closing discussions and wrap-up of our open talks. See you soon. Hello and welcome back for the second part of the last day of the Open Talks event. I'm getting a little bit emotional about this. Okay, so as the second part of the session is going to be as much open mic and interactive as we can as we discuss everything that we have seen and heard over the last few days. We're going to start with the quiz that we put into the chat at all the breaks. Simple true and false questions. They may have seemed very obvious in their answers of what we wanted you to respond. But let's have a quick look at them and then we will go on to the next part of the final discussion.
Do you want the end results? How the answers?
With the questions, yes.
You only the questions or results as well?
And the results. Is there a way to remove that line that says arrêtez le partage? Thank you. Milja, are you going to do this or am I?
Or both.
Or both. That's also a way to do it. Okay, so maybe I'll read the question. I'll read the question and then you do the response.
Okay.
Okay, historic house museums should only focus on the period in which the house was originally built, without addressing any subsequent historical changes.
And 97% of you said false. would you like to consider and to more briefly comment on this? Or should we move to another?
I would actually like to hear from someone who says that this is in fact what historic house museums should only focus on, because obviously historic house, maybe I shouldn't say obviously, for me historic house museums move forward through time. Part of the house could have been built in the 14th century, part of it in the 16th century, and so on and so forth. So what historical time do you choose to put the focus on? So I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in about this, or should we keep going?
I think you killed it with obviously.
Okay, next question.
Well, I would like to say something about the previous question. Yes, and I think Dennis too. I would like to say, in our case, we can talk about 19th century at the beginning of the 20th century, but the Marquis of Cerralbo collections were so big and diverse that actually we can talk about many other historical periods and many other countries and cultural contexts. So I think maybe it's the same in many museum houses, especially houses of collectors.
Denise.
Thank you. What you refer to, what period we choose, it's called the period of significance usually, and that is so difficult to decide on, especially today. But you have to decide on it because otherwise it becomes too much for a visitor to digest so much information. And as we know, even refurbishing or allocating different types of decors to a house museum that changed over centuries becomes a problem, and you can't do it physically all at once. We can do it now with the technology that there is out there, but still it was research has proven that the visitor cannot digest more than one main story during one visit, and it wouldn't enjoy it. Of course, we can all take in as much as possible, but still you wouldn't enjoy. So probably best think of exhibitions that would show other periods of significance, but you should still stick to one. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. That's actually interesting. Obviously most houses have a central part, which is the period of significance, but also there are then wings and additions that are integral to the house. And so what do? Do you remove them or do you ignore them? They are also part of the narrative of the house. So as far as I'm concerned, you do actually need to relate to it and talk about it. Obviously, you can put most of the focus on the period of significance, but you also have to take into account things that happen later on.
I think
it all depends from museum to museum, of course, depending on the size and on how many times a visitor is likely to visit. So yes, there are always differences. Sorry, Milja.
Nothing.
There is more hands up, Dominic, and I think other Dominic also wanted to speak, maybe.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Actually, both Dominic
Which
and
Dominic?
Dominique put their hands up. So.
That makes it difficult, two Dominics. I think there are ways of coping, like the museum I'm in charge of is an 18th century house. But, so the story is basically, the narrative is basically 18th century, but it's in Ypres, and the town was for 100% destroyed in the First World War. So you actually have to explain that what the visitor will see is a reconstruction in the 20th century of a reconstruction in the 19th century by a collector of an 18th century house. So you can easily do that in a short introduction and then dive into the 18th century. That's the way we do it.
Thank you, Dominic. Dominic the second.
Thanks, yeah. So I have a number of house museums that I look after in North Wales. Some of them are very old and go back to, say, the 13th century. Some of them much more recent. But the thing that I always find a struggle within, and I work for the National Trust, within the National Trust, is that we refuse to acknowledge our own presence in those properties. So the National Trust is now our owner of these places, and we have an influence and an impact on them. But we pretend that from the date that those properties came into our possession, say in 1980 or whenever, that history stopped. But history didn't stop; it continued, and we became the owners and the influencers and had an impact on that house. In fact, I have one property where we now have been in possession of that property for a longer period of time, 70 years, than the established main historic family associated with that property. So we've been there for longer than they have, and it's their story we tell. And I just think it's dangerous if we don't acknowledge our own impact and our own role in that continuing process of history.
Thank you. And Jimena.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the interesting question. Although it seems like there is an agreement, it is still a very nutritious discussion to go on with. And what I wanted to share is regarding what Denise shared of a period of significance. Of course, I completely agree. I love the concept, but I must admit that in lots of museums, in case of the Frida Kahlo Museum as well, there is much more than one period of significance. So it's not only one, it's more like 2 or 3. So what happens in the case of the Frida Kahlo Museum is that the Frida Kahlo Museum is big, considering to be a house. So if we only concentrate in one period of significance, most of people do not understand how Frida and Diego, being so lefty thinkers and activists, how they have such a big house for a family house. And the explanation is that in 1938, a donation came in from a Trotskyists from United States. And only because due to that reason, only due to a donation, the house has 1,000 square meters more than it should. So just to share that, I mean, so we cannot really, I mean, periods of significance, I absolutely agree that we need to focus on those. But what I wanted to share is that many times it's not only one. It's impossible to discard to keep only one period of significance, because due to these important reasons that they are essential to what the house is and is conveying today. More than one period of significance is essential to that. But it's super interesting question. Thank you very much. I am enjoying a lot the discussion and listening to the other colleagues.
Thank you, Jimena. I didn't know that about the house, so thank you. Should we move on to question 2? I mean, we could keep discussing this, but we have 5 questions. Okay. Community-based programs in historic house museums, such as oral history projects, can help preserve underrepresented local histories.
And 97 now are for true. So, Cecilia, I don't want to take the mic again, but I actually enjoy very much when a house museum historical residence offers a variety of time readings, like archaeology of the building and the daily living.
Sorry, it was for the previous.
Yeah, it was for the last question, but Timna, sorry if I could return. Caroline, you don't have to return to previous. Thank you. But when we made this, we were always thinking about ourselves from the position of workers in historic houses. but this goes also for the view of visitors, what they are seeing. We discussed that also in Prague, but the difficulty of conveying the message of one or many or like timeline of periods to the visitor is also something to be always thinking about. So thank you. Sorry, Caroline. Go back, yeah. So I think this is straightforward. Community-based programs such as oral history projects can help preserve underrepresented local histories. Dominic, interestingly, so yes, the National Trust has been in existence for over 125 years, a long time period to ignore. Julia, in Art Nouveau Center, we have two parts, authentic reconstruction, restoration of the residential apartment circa 1905-07, and the second part is modern with touch screens and multimedia, also for the previous one. Does someone want to comment this question? No?
Okay, let's move to the next question. Maybe this one actually has consensus.
Yeah.
Okay, historic house museums primarily cater to an older demographic and should focus less on outreach to younger audiences.
94 of you said false. So let's hear about those 6% of you. I think basically when we discuss a younger audience, I think the young audience is really the toughest one when we think about historic house. Based on my experience in Belgrade, the younger audience will not go primarily to historic house, will go to any other museum. So it's really tough to reach to them. What do you think about that? I think basically we better connect with older demographic, right?
I think Cecilia wants to say something.
Yes, if I may. Yes, the older demographic is our classical audience and our classical visitors. But I think in the last 10, 15 years with social media, all the houses are doing a great job attracting younger people, especially when photos are allowed in the rooms because they love to take portraits for social media. And we see that a lot in our case. Is the same at your houses?
Elena?
Thank you. I agree that house museums should prioritize the major groups of audiences that they receive. What I disagree is that at least in Latin America, that is not older demographic at all. Actually, I am aware that in my country of origin, Pablo Neruda's house is mainly young people from 20 to 40. Here in Mexico, it's mainly young people. I mean, adults, well, yeah, older demographic, I was assuming that it was late adults, but in Latin America, it's more like young adults. So what I am trying to say is that what I don't agree is that older demographic is the common ground of the majority of visitors to most house museums. That I do not see that in Latin America. But what I agree with is that obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but it is advisable to, if you of the 100% of visitors that House Museum has, it's advisable to focus in the major groups of because, well, due to, if you have a lot of young people, you try to have activities or to convey in a language for young people and etc. So that is what I wanted to share. Maybe I did not understand what an older demographic means. I was assuming that it meant 40 up onwards. So that is not the case of Latin America. Thank you. Or it does not seem to be the case. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so interesting things going on in the chat. Ted Bosley saying teaching 11-year-olds how to give tours of the Gamble House for 8-year-olds is the way we engage the next generation. That's really the next generation engaging the next generation. I think it's great to lay the path at an early age. So thank you for that, Ted. Nicoletta has a few comments about the way that Versailles is actually trying to engage the elderly and the oldest of our of the audiences who have obviously some difficulties in visiting and coming around and visiting houses. Nicoletta, would you like to say something about that? Nicoletta?
Caroline here. We are starting to work on this, but obviously I was pointing to special physical needs or tools that will make their visits easier, but also contents and making contents resonate with the rich life experience of our eldest visitors. That's also why we are trying to think about cross generational content, so that we can have groups where several generations can exchange around Versailles and share some intimate experience. Sorry, I'm stealing the mic.
It's okay. I see that Matthias has his hand up, and then we have some more comments in the chat. So Matthias, and then I'll go to the chat.
Hi, I would just like to say that for Slovenia, I mean, I've been doing some research on house museums, and it's at least in Slovenia, our primary focus visitors are actually younger audience. That's extremely young. That's elementary school, and also the older people, like 70 plus. I would just like to comment on Cecilia, who says that it really improved when this younger audience are being allowed to take photos for Instagram or Facebook. That in our case, it really improved the visitation by this. And I would just like to comment on Ted's idea about teaching the youngers to take tour guides for children. We've done something similar to that, and we had some great results about that.
Thank you, Matthias. I'm just going to go into the chat. There's a general comment about the first question from Gianluca, who always is able to pinpoint a very important historiographic point about historical house museums. Keep in mind that a house museum is not real history. It's always a medium to help the visitor approach real history and the result of a curatorial program. Important is only that the message is clear. So if I understand correctly, Gianluca, you're saying that in fact, anyone who visits a house museum is getting a very specific narrative about history through the curatorial program, and is possibly leaving, which actually connects to Verena's presentation before about the way that we present personalities and the way we describe the personality of genius. So I think this connects very much to that point. People agreeing with Gianluca, of course. And then Ted coming back and saying that his touring kids has been going for more than 30 years, and some of the former junior docents have remained engaged and are now adult guides, which I think is fantastic. That kind of makes me think about Caroline's photograph of her grandparents taking visiting Versailles in 1953, and now 2 generations later, Caroline's working at Versailles. And there's more information about other projects that people are doing with using scholars to train guides and children, and I think there's a lot going on here, but I want to go on to the next question because otherwise we won't manage everything we have planned for you, and it's fun. Okay, next question. And this one is the closest one to actually having a difference of opinion. Historic house museums are often located in areas of significant historical and cultural importance, making them central to the local community's identity.
I don't know what to say first. 22 said false, 78% of you said true. So what do you think? Do you think like historic house is not central to the local community's identity at all, or cannot be central? Is the word central problem, or what do you think? What was the word that triggered you to say true or false?
Dominic. Dominic, you had your hand up and you're on mute.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I was one of the people who voted in the 22%.
Thank you.
And where I struggled, because of course initially I thought yes, of course, but then I thought, well, many of these places are. So I live in Wales, and Wales is a nation within the United Kingdom, and it was colonised by the English, and those colonisers built beautiful country houses and placed them away from the local communities on hillsides and things like this. And in some respects, they were not central to the local community's identity. They were imposed from outside, and in some senses were, although they held power and money and influence, they were also an irrelevance. But also, mostly I felt that the question implied that it was a positive, significant cultural importance to the local community. And actually, I have a community that still now identifies itself almost in opposition to that country house, that country house, and object to its presence within their community. So it felt like a more nuanced question than it was difficult to answer.
Yes, no, it's a very important point. Sometimes, does the historical house become central because of the community around it, or is it in spite of the community around it, or sometimes I imagine it is irrelevant. It just happens to be that was the house where a certain dignitary lived, and the importance of that dignitary and of the house that comes because of it isn't actually because of the community and the location. And then comes the question: how do you connect the community to that house, which is what we've been discussing the last few days. And I see Yoshihiro has commented, Nijojo Castle is the samurai's castle. People in Kyoto do not like the samurai culture because Kyoto is the city of emperor. So there you have the same kind of dissonance of the castle versus the location.
And important comment from Ted Bosley, sorry, perhaps a comment on where they are located if there is no local community. And also, from Ximena, I think that in general, the house museum period of significance starts when the museum was firstly inhabited and ends up when the house museum opened to public officially. I know this is regarding the first question, just wanted to share. But also for this, because the community is also changing around the house. We always forget that, and we must think who lived around the house, around our residents of the house, and who is now the community around the house, around the museum, basically. And can the community, is the community changed, or is it like, can they connect in the same way or like before? So some parts of the city changes, and yeah, it's really beautiful comment. Thank you, Ximena.
I see that Denise has her hand up in the name list. Denise?
Milja already said what I wanted to say, really. It depends on the changing demographics, but also it comes back to what I was saying in my presentation, that communities can be described or defined in a different way. So it's not necessarily the community that lives perhaps next door to the house museum that we should consider, but virtual communities or these pilgrimage communities that can be associated deeply with the site and consider to be connected that way. Thank you.
Yeah, very much so. I think we sometimes we forget about that extra layer now of the digital community and the extended community, and the tourist community. It's also things that we need to consider. There are hands up in the chat, and I don't know if they've just remained there. So Matthias, did you want to make another comment? Apparently not. And Jimena, did you want to say something beyond the comment that you made in the chat?
Yes, thank you. This is for the current question. I have a question because it says historic house museums are often located in areas of significant historical or cultural importance, making them central to the local community's identity. So I am afraid I did not understand the sentence in this is aiming to mean that historic house museums are located in areas that have a significant or cultural importance before they became a museum, or that historic house museum change the area and make it historical and culturally significant. Because in the first time I read it, I thought it is false, at least again in Chile and in Mexico, because lots of historic house museums are located in neighborhoods that they were anything but with historical cultural significance, and it only due to the fact that the museum was open to the public, that bit by bit, decade by decade, because due to the museum existence and development, that area became of cultural significance. So are the two options considered in the sentence, or only one? Just to...
I think actually when we were formulating these, we actually wanted to create dissent and discussion. So
okay,
I think on purpose we left it so that it isn't completely clear, that it can be interpreted in different ways to create this discussion now. This is what we wanted.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not really an answer.
Tickle your mind, basically.
It's actually perfect. Thank you, Timna, because I thought that maybe I have misunderstood the sentence, but if both interpretations are equally correct, then yeah, it's perfect for a discussion, and I didn't misunderstand. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So there's more discussion going on in the chat. Ed says, presumed irrelevance is proof of the importance of outreach. at schools, etc. If the Historic House Museum is there in a community, it is relevant almost by definition. It's up to the interpreters and management to make the place relevant. I'll just say goodbye to Gianluca, who has said that he needs to leave. Sorry. And then Dominic responds, it's very easy in our positions of confirmation bias to miss the fact that many people are indifferent to the historic house in their locality. Indeed.
And I have to say thank you for that comment. And it's really hard to accept that fact, but we have to think about that and like make a statement on our working desk.
Okay, so I think I can't remember if there's another question or not. No, by this arrow there isn't. Okay, so thank you everybody for that discussion. I think, okay, and
the drums,
now, because we had so much fun yesterday with the hint hunt, and we seem to see that it worked better as the whole group rather than in the small rooms. Milja had a special request that we do one more house. So,
thank you for approving this.
We'll do it quickly. Question, should museum professionals disagree more often? Yes, Dominic, they absolutely should. It makes life interesting. Spice is the source of life.
Timna, you're muted.
I know, sorry. Which house are we choosing today?
Ximena is doing, I forgot the number.
4.
Ximena, you're muted, dear.
Okay, I am not unmuted. So shall I start sharing the images now? I mean, why the or maybe we wait for people to answer the question. Yeah. What is the first thing to do?
What museum do you think is this?
Okay. Can anyone guess what the house is? I'll include there and put your answers into the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Which house museum is this?
Was it so easy? Like because of the wheelchair or the color blue? What was
it? To do it or?
I kill all the fun asking Ximena to do it. It was obvious. Okay.
Yes, yeah, that is why I became a bit confused. Okay, perfect. Okay, it doesn't matter. Well, but thank you very much.
But
yes,
can I use you to let's go to the answer? Okay, of course we know that it's Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
But
I must say something, that I did not choose these images, and I love the fact how they were chosen, because it was highly very sensitive and assertive from the colleague that chose the images, because one is a house painted in blue, the other ones are brushes because Frida Kahlo was a painter, the other one is actually one of the few photographs that we know that was actually taken by Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo took few photographs, and this is one of them, and she made that set up in reference to the accident that changed her life and make her a person with disability, and that is represented in the wheelchair. and in the image of the wheelchair, and it's also a colorful wheelchair, as Mexican, everything is kind of very colorful in Mexico. And besides the landscape with the maguey, that is a typical Mexican landscape, because maguey, or agave in its botanical name, it's the plant where everything, so many Mexican things come from: paper, fabric, textile, tequila, pulque, mezcal, sweets. So, maguey is since Olmec period, since the mother culture period of time. Maguey is the nurturing plant of Mesoamerican civilization. So thank you very much for choosing those images. It's super, makes it easy, but culturally and culturally beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimena. I think that object is just so poignant and so important to really understanding who Frida Kahlo was and what her pain and her disability and the way it affected her art over the years, and obviously the narrative of her story and her life. So thank you for explaining that for us. We are running along. Now, on the first day, we did a word cloud at the end of the day, and I promised that we would do it again. I wanted to do again now another word cloud after we've heard everyone's discussions and presentations, and ask the same question: who are our communities, and see if we actually end up with the same answer, or if we've now gone off in different directions. So we have the QR code on the screen, and if we can also have it, the link in the chat for those of us who prefer to work from the computer. And we're going to do this quickly. 2 minutes, go in, put in a couple of words, like the ones that you like, and then we'll have a look at it and compare it to the first day. Okay, here we go.
Timna, do you want me to start sharing results as they grow?
Yes, please.
Everybody.
I love this. It was like what changed after 3 days, right? And how open talks impact you. I love this.
That everybody has now become the dominant word, when in the first day it was staff.
So we are able to change you, so I'm gonna love it.
Now, it seems to me that our definitions have become much broader, much more general. There's less specificity, about who we're, or who we are saying is our community. Okay. And I think as much as I can sit watching, it's mesmerizing. I can keep watching this as it goes, but let's come back to the session now.
My cat.
I wonder who put that.
What is my cat? Caroline, was that you?
You also have cat.
True, I do.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't me neither.
Come on, cat people.
It was
All
me.
right. So thank you. This is fantastic. Now, Caroline, of her own, just because she's the most amazing magician ever, took the word cloud from the first day and turned it into a video. And Caroline, you're going to have to do it again. I hope you realize that. But I would like to share that video with you.
Okay, so let's go. Communities.
When I say she's a magician, I mean it. Fantastic. Thank you, Caroline. And we are now going to go from our magician to our social media maven, Roberto.
Hi, everybody. I'm back. I'm back. Okay, I want to share something with you. Something that I gathered from these open talks is the importance of communication, outreach, and of course, community. And one of the ways we are doing this, or we are encouraging people to do this, is through social media. Of course, we have had our Facebook page for quite some time now, and it grows steadily. But as you know, we have to keep up with the new era, with the new things. So we insisted in opening our Instagram account, which is growing thanks to you. But I really, really want to ask you to please join. This is open to everybody, as a social media is. Everybody can have access. If you want to learn about what the board is doing, which session are they attending, or where are they in the conference? For instance, you can see that Timna and Yvonne were in Marseille some months ago. Also very important, if you like the house tours, I give special house tours in the Instagram and Facebook pages. So you can click on my face every time you see it, and you will probably get a surprise of a house museum visit from anywhere around the world. I apologize if I use a lot of Mexican and Guatemalan examples, but that's my nation and that's the place where I live, but I try to do as much as I can otherwise. So you just please follow us on social media. That's very important for us. You can also have access to museum days activities, for example. This is what we want. We want to outreach you with our posts so that you know what's going on in the rest of the house museums. It including today's the last day's open talks. It's been shared in social media so people can actually recall what they saw during the day, feeling to have to join in the next time. Of course, our most mean of communication through guests, through members, is our newsletter, which is sent very promptly by our secretary and with the help of everybody in the board. But newsletters are only for DEMHIST members, so we would really, really like you to join DEMHIST as your international committee. If you're already in ICOM and you haven't choose your international committee, well, you're always welcome here here at DEMHIST. And if you are not part of the ICOM community, we encourage you to become a member of ICOM, and then, of course, part of the DEMHIST community. We're doing this lovely hashtag for all of our posts in both Facebook and Instagram. And if you join DEMHIST as your international group, please, Celia, very efficient secretary. If someone has any questions about social media.
Okay, so I just want to say, if Hillary is still with us, I have to say thank you to Hillary for opening the Facebook page in 2016 at the time of the Milan Triennial, and at the time many of the DEMHIST members were very bemused about the need for social media, and I think we have proved the point that it really is an essential tool as we have gone through the years. Cecilia, can you put into the chat again how to become a member, like the link, either your email or the link to our website where you can get the information on how to become a DEMHIST member? And please, everybody, and this is me as well, we are just starting the hashtag DEMHIST community, bouncing off this open talk event. So everyone, please, when you post anything to Instagram or to Facebook, let's use the hashtag. Let's make it a thing. Okay. Now, getting to the sad part.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Was asking about Blue Sky. Would you like us to be on Blue Sky or to have a Telegram channel or a WhatsApp channel? A question for all of you. Because we are only on Facebook and Instagram now, as we put our X account to sleep a year ago because we weren't very happy with what was happening on X. So would you like us to join Blue Sky, or it's okay with Facebook and Instagram?
I think I would love a bit more of an explanation about what Blue Sky is and how widely used it is. I mean, I have Telegram, but I don't have Blue Sky, for example.
Blue Sky is like a crossover between Twitter and Mammoth, and I think it's very useful. It's very polite, and people is very nice, not as in X. And sorry, I was using X for, I don't know, 13 years, but I don't anymore. And I find Blue Sky very calming and respectful. And yes, and exactly, Dominic, it's 20 million now. And there is entire countries as Brazil migrating to Blue Sky, for instance, recently, and it's just blowing up. Blue Sky is now like a rocket. Yes. So maybe we should consider it in some months.
Okay.
I can make a poll. If we can try making a poll. I've got the option Blue Sky, WhatsApp channel, Facebook, Instagram. Do you want to add anything more to the poll?
Telegram. Now, Blue Sky, remember when you first mentioned it to me, you said you have to be invited to be a member, that it's not actually open. Has that changed?
It's not anymore like that. From it's open to all. Yeah. But for me, the best thing would be to open a Telegram channel. Yes. Pigeon post. Yes. I would like to join to open a Telegram channel.
That would be
Actually,
perfect. That would be perfect. I
This would
follow
be-
like 10
yes.
Telegram channels, and it's really great, and it's really
yes, me
live.
too.
And
I was like making the pros and cons between a WhatsApp channel and a Telegram channel, and I was sharing them because we were planning maybe to present today our new channel, but we couldn't decide between WhatsApp and Telegram, and honestly, we had
I'm voting for Telegram channel.
Yes, I would prefer Telegram also, but we have to decide between the whole board and to,
Yes,
you
of
know.
course. Yeah.
And
Okay,
with
so
Roberto,
let's have a look and see what we all think about it. Caroline,
Yes.
do we have results?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm closing the poll and publishing it in just one moment. Okay. Closing the poll. And so we have the lead is for WhatsApp channel and Facebook. We have 10% each that voted for WhatsApp and Facebook. 9% voted for Telegram, and 6% voted for Blue Sky.
Interesting. Okay, that's something for us to keep thinking about in the communications working group.
Yeah, so basically we already have Facebook and Instagram.
And we are launching, as we speak, our YouTube channel, thanks to all the wonderful videos material that we have created around this open talk. So
yes, okay, just to explain something, yes, we will have, we have our YouTube channel now, and for now, there is only the teaser for the open talks, but all the videos you have seen in the open talks are already in our YouTube channel, but unlisted. so you cannot see them unless you have the link. But the open talks entirely will be in our YouTube channel. We will tell you. And about the WhatsApp channel, we cannot have it yet because we are not an institution or a famous person. And WhatsApp channel is only allowed to like Cristiano Ronaldo and Real Madrid and
I have a recommendation. Roberto is a really famous person.
Yes, indeed. So WhatsApp channel is forbidden to us for now, but Telegram will be an option. And Blue
I
Sky,
love the comment.
but Blue Sky would definitely be an option too. For me, this is the best choices right now. So
okay.
we
All
wait
right, so
for your feedback to the secretary email, okay? For your suggestions.
And then we will keep discussing it.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe we should form a football team, says the Dominic channel. Bravo. And Timna is our coach.
Okay. Okay, so as we come into the wrap up of our open talks, I have to say that personally, absolutely, sorry, I'm going to stop saying what I was going to read from the page. Caroline, absolutely share the photograph if he agrees. I'm going to keep talking until it comes up on the screen. So personally, I found this session so stimulating and I've learned so much. It is clear that the subject of communities, what they mean and how we relate to them and how they relate to us has become one of the major issues for historic house museums today. We will have short 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most, time for an open mic. If anyone would like to share their thoughts, we would love to hear what you have to say. And you can also write in the chat if you prefer. And I'd also like to throw out, in addition to this spontaneous discussion about social media, I know that online events cannot replace the networking and camaraderie of in-person conferences. But would you be interested in having a second open talk next year, the year after, carrying this on as an additional format for us to meet and communicate and share our knowledge and our ideas? So I'm going to throw both of those out to all of you now. Please open your mics, put into the comments, into the chat, put your hands up, and then we will have about a 10-minute discussion about this.
I was going to ask you, Timna and Milja and Cecilia, whoever else is in charge, can we propose some themes for these open talks?
Absolutely.
Most definitely. And thank you for suggesting that.
Because of the interest that we had, especially from Verina's presentation, and because this is really an important topic today, given all the discord that there is in the world and in our societies, shall we do something on difficult heritage and how to interpret it? And we could have an introduction, a theoretical session, and after that, all of you, the practitioners, come with ideas how to create a model of interpretation that not just doesn't upset anybody, but conveys accurately the message of each house museum and could also bring reconciliation if there are dissonant parties. Would you be interested?
I think that's a fantastic idea. I think that's an excellent idea. I think it's a very tough subject that we need to face and and I think came very clear from Verena's talk that many of us are dealing with this in our own house museums. So I think that would be a very good topic for another open talk. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
And there seems to be consensus in the chat that a mixture of online and in-person conferences and sessions would be would be fantastic. I think for many of us who live perhaps in places where it is more difficult for us to travel, then these online events are they're a line of oxygen for us to actually be able to take part and communicate and meet our peers on an international level. So I think that's very important. Thank you. Are there any other thoughts or comments just generally about the open talks, about the feedback on the last few days, things that you liked, things that you didn't like, things that you think we should just throw out the window? Timna, stop being the person who's talking so much. Whatever you want to say. Elena.
Thank you. I wanted to share that I love the activities that were interactive, in which we interacted between each other, and I think they were all really appropriated, and the discussion that arose regarding regarding these activities was as productive and meaningful as the lectures. So, well, that is my opinion. So I think that it was very good and original that these open talks placed those activities in all the sessions, and actually conclusions. I mean, I think the thing that I said before, I think that they were equally important to the open talks. So lectures and interactive activities comprehend a very complete learning experience. Thank you.
Thank you. If everybody can please turn their cameras on. I wanted to do a group photograph, and all I'm seeing is blue and purple circles. Admittedly, they're colors that I like and that I wear a lot, but it's not going to make for a very good photograph to put onto social media. So if everybody can please put their cameras on. Hillary, I know you're there, really. Ted. Lana.
Julia.
Yoshi. Come on. Adriana, please stay for 2 more minutes so you can have the
Don't run
photograph.
away.
Maria.
We have a surprise at the end. Courtesy of Ted.
Staying around. Okay. All right. So I think the group photograph, I will do a print screen anyway, but I think it's not going to really be worth it. There you go. Okay. Now, 1 second. Okay, it is what it is. Now, where was I? Before we close, there are lots of before we closes. Please note that the open call for hosting the DEMHIST 2026 conference is open. If this is something that could interest you, your institution, your national committee, please be in touch with us. We can talk about it further, help you through the process. Why 2026? Because 2025, hopefully we will all meet in Dubai for the ICOM Triennial Conference in November. And at this point, I have to say a big thank you again. We've got to that part of the speech that we all have to give at openings of exhibitions and closings of exhibitions. I'm sorry. I would like to say a big thank you again to the wonderful team that has made the open talks possible, to Chateau de Versailles for the platform, to Cecilia, Milja, Caroline, who have somehow managed to make all of this happen, and while keeping on with their very busy professional and personal lives as well. Thanks to all the DEMHIST board members who pitched in as moderators, Roberto, Yvonne, and Jimena. A special thank you to our volunteers and interns, Jussi and Nicoletta. And of course, to all the presenters and video creators who, without you, we wouldn't have had the wonderful discussions over the last few days. And last but not least, thanks to everybody who's just been here participating, adding to the conversation, putting your comments into the chats, taking part in the word clouds. I know how difficult it is to make time in schedules to attend a 3-day online event. It's challenging for all of us, whether it be the start of your day, the middle of your day, the end of your day, the middle of the night. So really, thank you everybody for making that commitment to DEMHIST Open Talks. Now, we have two things. The first thing we're going to flash up onto the screen. We have a photograph that someone promised to share with us. Caroline? That's part of it. And Ted, which one is you? Or
The
Denise, do you
arrow.
know?
Caroline, you are muted.
Ah, the arrow. Okay. Wait. Okay. All right. So that's Ted standing in the back with a lot of hair. Fantastic. What year was this? Okay. Okay. Ted is having communication problems.
Guess the year.
Ted has
Maybe-
problems. But
maybe
I can
write
tell
down-
you 74.
Write down in the chat.
No, 1970. Sorry.
1970. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So as promised, we do
Wow.
deliver. And now one final word cloud, one word only that sums up the open talks for you. Really quick, 2 minutes in and out, and let's see where we go. Can we have the link in the chat again as well?
Is the link in the chat, please?
Sorry, it took me a few seconds.
Okay, who said alcohol?
Alcohol is going to happen like in 8 minutes.
Oh, you have no idea.
Timna, you forgot that you mentioned some alcohol during the open talk, so it was on. We have you on record.
Oh, it's not a secret.
Please don't promote bad habits.
Who said having a drink at the end of a long work day is a bad habit? Okay.
There is
Alright,
just
this is
people
fantastic.
watching us.
Okay. I love that belonging is the biggest word. Fantastic. This really is what we're talking about, creating the DEMHIST community, creating our own community, and our own community which can then radiate out through our historic house museums to other communities and make connections across the world. Thank you so much. This really is wonderful.
Such lovely words.
Okay.
If I can say something and use
Absolutely.
our 3 words, when I'm thinking about the open talks and all the troubles that we had and why we organized the open talks in the first place, I just want to send you a message that we all, no need, but maybe we need to try to interpret and be inspired always, even on the gloomy days. As Timna said, we all have struggles, professional wise, privately wise, but let's be inspired always, and so that we can impact on our community, right? Let's that make a pinky promise.
Lovely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Milja. Those are beautiful words and very important words. I hate to say it, but unless anyone has anything else that they wish to say, I think we have come to the end. All I will add is stay in touch, join our social media, join DEMHIST, get on our mailing lists.
Finish like Casablanca. It's not end, it's like beginning of a new friendship.
Says the woman who works in the film archive. Okay. So thank you so much for attending. I've so enjoyed meeting new colleagues, seeing old colleagues. And yes, let's open our mics and give everyone a round of applause, because this really was an example of a real, true group effort. Thank you so much. Oh, and we're done. Can I pour a whiskey now?
Maybe we can stay and have a drink together.
Oh, and Cecilia says anyone who needs certificates of attendance, be in touch with her directly.
Yes, please. Both speakers and presenters as attendees. Okay. As promised, there will be certificates.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we will be in touch for summary and closure by email.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a wonderful
Bye.
night.
See you
And
around.
thank you for joining. Bye.
Bye.